second day I got quarantined. The second day. Because I was out for 10 days. Whatever it takes.
Well, I think what our plan is at this point, we kind of were reacting to this. We want to be a little more proactive this time, and understanding that the thing may not be put to bed yet. When one case, two cases, we need to be a little more quicker to react to that. And I think that's why we want to have people come up here and get their opinions, get an idea of what people think their best idea.
And you're right. The one thing with COVID that we cannot control is quarantine. We don't make those guidelines, but how we mitigate quarantine we can. And we're not here to say masks work or they don't work, but they will stop the quarantine numbers if they weren't within a certain distance and they weren't correct.
Well, one thing I have learned about the mask is, and you can say whether they work for COVID-19, say whether they don't work for COVID-19. Our kids were a lot less sick last year from the flu, cold, and everything else. I mean, you know, I printed this off today. It's from the state of Indiana. It's you know, back to school. First thing on here, wash hands. Second thing on here, mask, social distance. I mean, all the same guidelines as what we went through last year, and we're not following that. We need to do this.
Well, I assure you our plan does matter. But we want to open it up for everybody to have a voice. We appreciate you. Our next
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming up. We appreciate you. Matthew, do you want to talk?
Thanks for opening it up for the public, first of all. My name's Matthew Magner. I have a daughter that's a junior here that got caught up in the contract tracing. I have talked to Rodney a little bit offline about this. And to piggyback on what Chris said, contract tracing is killing us. And if the mask is what's going to keep that number down, I'm for it. A lot of people kind of know my stance. I'm not here to talk about vaccinated, unvaccinated, masked, or unmasked. What we got to do is open the school up. I mean, that's basically what it's got to be. Gracie was tied up because she sat next to a girl in the lunch room. I don't care what happens in Indianapolis, and I don't care what happens in Washington, D.C., but I do care what happens in Washington County. This is my home. That's why I come back here. So anything I can do to help, I will. You know that. So if we can get it opened up, and if it's a mass thing, then a mass thing it is. So that's all I've got. Thanks.
Matthew, we appreciate you reiterating that. And to talk on the health board, Lindsay Bruff has came in, and she's not here for questions. She's here as support. So if there is something that we're going to ask her to take back to the health board as some ideas to discuss that might help us out. We know, and people have called me, that there's other schools in the state of Indiana, one in particular did no quarantine, that their local health department allowed it last year. There was only one. Do you
have the numbers on those?
I don't. I reached out today and didn't get any numbers. There are other schools that did 48 out, that adjusted their quarantine, didn't get numbers on them as well, as far as that goes. But to reiterate what all three of you, do you have a comment? To reiterate what all three of you said, mask will mitigate the quarantine and will keep us in school. But as we talked to administration in the meeting prior to, lunch, practice, buses are the three exposures that masks may not help, you know, because they're going to be sitting on top of each other on the bus, because we're short bus drivers and we've had to combine routes. Practices, they're going to take their mask off, and it's just the way it is. And at lunch to eat, they can't eat through a mask. Both my daughters have been quarantined. One's a fourth grader, one's a sixth grader. My fourth grader wears her mask, and I said, "You always wear your mask." And she said, "But we take them off at the table," you know. So we're not going to fix everything with masks. It's not going to happen. There's still going to be certain small groups of quarantine with that. You guys have any comments on that?
Well, I do want to clear something else too. Something else, this is just good information to know, that even if it wasn't COVID, let's say it was the flu, or anything, if there's 20%, that 20% is for, that's set for any school, like tragedy, so to speak, you know what I'm saying, problems.
Right, but with the
So,
flu.
like the flu, if it was the flu,
There was no contact tracing. It
No,
was all
but-
if they were
right,
sick,
right,
they were
right,
out.
right.
And
But
we've
if they
been
were-
there, we've all been there.
Right.
We know we went through the flu epidemic a few years ago, and kids were out.
yeah. But if we had hit that, we didn't hit it, but if we had hit that 20%, then, you know, and I have heard of other schools doing that, where maybe they had like the stomach bug or a flu, where they've hit that 20%. So I just want to clarify that too, that that's something that was before COVID, that was the percentage.
Right, and I'm completely fine.
I just want to, yeah,
I
because
mean,
that's
and
something
and
that,
that's fine, but what's killing us is the contact tracing.
Yep. And I will say, I don't have a mask on because online always says they can't understand me. And tonight's meeting is a little important, so I want them to understand me. So, and we're 3 feet away from each other. Our next speaker, Mr. Suvak, you can sit there if you'd like.
I don't really have anything to add based on what's been said, so I'm not just going to take time. I will just say one thing quickly.
Yes.
We all know that the board has a great responsibility. I don't even need to say that, but I said it. What we also all know is that our youth, our children, need to be in school. They have been hurt, and they are being hurt. And I don't know how you make up for what's lost, but I wish I had a solution that I could say, hey, do 1, 2, and 3, and I don't. So I appreciate what you're going through, and I support you. But again, just emphasizing how very, very, very important it is to do whatever is possible to get the kids in school.
We appreciate you as always, Mr. Suvak, being here and supporting us. That's the only 4 speakers I had. Would anybody else like to speak? Anybody from the board?
well, I just want to thank our speakers, because I appreciate your passion and your concern, and I think that as a community, that we all, you know, are wanting, it sounds like we're all on the same page. And I think everything you brought to the table tonight was very good, and words that should be out there. And I think you expressed yourself very well and very professional. We appreciate that. Thank you.
So, we kind of talked about the elementary with the lunch. But the middle school and the high school, is that an option to go back to kind of what we did last year?
Mr. Albert, Mr. Albert and I have discussed this, and I think the plan is for high school to go back to 3 lunches and be able to spread out. Is that correct?
Right now, we're gonna look at 2 and see if we can bring the
Okay.
overflow in here first before we look at 3.
Okay. Mr. Albertson, we've discussed yours too, but you want to share anything?
Yeah, we're in the process of rearranging the cafeteria, adding some plexiglass, and we'll use our back room as an overflow in order to meet the a little bit more distance.
Does that answer that question, Becky?
Yes.
I think what all of you will find is that our plan will support what you guys can do. And wholeheartedly, we want kids in school. It's foremost. But we also want a safe environment, not just for them, but for our faculty and staff as well. If there's nobody else who would like to say anything, administration, anybody from our admin? Mark, go ahead.
I appreciate everybody coming and speaking. I think the biggest thing that we need to do is make this a community effort, everyone work together. I said not so many words earlier, this is the best situation in the world, but everybody's dealing with it on some level. I think it's not gonna be easy for anybody to deal with any of this. It hasn't been for the last year and a half. But to minimize it is about the best we can do at this point. And the more support, the more we function as a team and try to get through this, the better off it's going to be for the kids. Because like everybody says, the kids are watching us and how we react to these things. And I think it's very important that they see us band together and support one another. So, and you know, it's important to other communities to see that there is actually a community that's on the same page. Because we all know we haven't seen a lot of communities on the same page. So I'm very impressed and very proud that Salem can do that. And I think we can do that.
Yeah, and there's some things going forward, further that Mr. Tedrow, which one of you? Mr. Tedrow, Aaron here, he's a parent, he contacted me a week ago, he's contacted me before with information, great to talk to, he's a resource. But going further for the week that we're out, and we need to have something for those parents that gotta work, and a place for them to go. He's gave us some contacts, we're gonna work for them. So some of the things, should we ever have to do this again, and I hope that we don't. But if we do, there's some resources that we can reach out to and be a little more proactive about. And we're working on that, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming tonight as well. Our plan it'll come out with Tuesdays when we come back to school. I assure you that it'll mimic what you guys have come in here to support. It's really the only thing that we can do. If nobody has anything else, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the
I'll make
meeting.
the motion.
Becky makes the motion. Allison seconds. All those in favor? If I asked some of